Throughout human history, a remarkable phenomenon has been documented across cultures and continents. Young children who spontaneously recall detailed memories of previous lives. These children, typically between ages 2 and 6, often speak with conviction about people, places, and experiences they could not possibly have encountered in their current lifetime. Consider the case of James Leininger, a Louisiana boy who, at just 2 years old, began having terrifying nightmares of crashing in an airplane. During daytime hours, he displayed knowledge about W-Point's aircraft that bewildered his parents. James repeatedly stated, "I was a pilot. My airplane got shot in the engine and crashed in the water." He knew technical details about Corsair fighters and correctly identified Iwo Jima as the location where his plane had been shot down. Most astonishingly, James identified himself as James Houston, a name his parents later discovered belonged to a real JetBlue pilot who died exactly as their son had described. In Lebanon, a young boy named Nazi al-Danaf began speaking at age 2 about his previous life as a man in a nearby village. He correctly named family members from his previous life, described the exact location of his former home, and even led his parents to a hidden stash of money he claimed to have buried before his death. When brought to the village, he recognized dozens of people by name whom he had never met in his current life. In India, where such cases are more commonly documented, Shanti Devi began speaking at age 4 about her other house in Mathura, some 80 miles from her Delhi home. She provided precise details about her previous husband, children, and the circumstances of her death in childbirth. When investigators brought her to Mathura, she unerringly led them through streets she had never visited in her current life, directly to her former home, and recognized her previous husband and children. What makes these cases particularly compelling is not merely the children's conviction, but the verifiable factual details they provide. Many recount specific names, addresses, family relationships, and circumstances of death that can be, and have been, independently verified by researchers. These children often display emotions connected to these memories: grief over loved ones left behind, anger about circumstances of their death, or joy when reuniting with people from their described past life. The renowned consciousness researcher, Dr. Ian Stevenson, documented over 3,000 such cases during his decades at the University of Virginia. His meticulous investigations eliminated conventional explanations like fraud, fantasy, cryptomnesia, forgotten memories, or parental suggestion. In many instances, the children described obscure villages they had never visited, recognized people they had never met, and knew intimate family secrets that weren't publicly available. Perhaps most intriguing are cases where children bear birthmarks or birth defects that correspond precisely to fatal wounds described in their past life accounts. Cayce, the famous American mystic, suggested these physical manifestations represented energy imprints carried from one incarnation to the next, visible evidence of the soul's journey through multiple lives. These children's accounts often fade as they grow older, typically disappearing by age 7, as if a veil gradually descends between lives. This pattern aligns with many spiritual traditions that speak of souls gradually becoming fully integrated into their new physical existence during early childhood. What we witness through these remarkable children may be glimpses through that veil, momentary windows into the soul's greater journey. Their innocent and spontaneous recollections challenge our conventional understanding of consciousness, identity, and the nature of human existence itself. The phenomenon of children remembering past lives is far more widespread than most people realize. While often associated with Eastern spiritual traditions, these cases appear across every continent, culture, and religious background. Research indicates that these memories typically emerge between ages 2 and 6, a developmental window where children speak with remarkable clarity about experiences from lives they claim to have lived before. In Western countries, where reincarnation isn't a dominant cultural belief, approximately 5–8% of children spontaneously report past life memories when interviewed in controlled studies. However, in regions where reincarnation is culturally accepted, such as parts of India, Sri Lanka, Burma, and Thailand, the numbers rise dramatically to 15–25% of children reporting such memories. This disparity likely reflects not just cultural openness to discussing these experiences, but also parental attention to children's unusual statements that might otherwise be dismissed as imagination. The frequency and consistency of these cases led Dr. Jim Tucker, successor to Dr. Stevenson at the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies, to create a database of over 2,500 documented cases. Analysis reveals fascinating patterns. Approximately 70% of children begin sharing these memories between ages 2 and 4, with the average onset around 35 months. By age 7, about 80% of children stop discussing these memories entirely, as if the connection to past experiences gradually fades as their current identity solidifies. The geographical distribution of these cases reveals intriguing cultural variations. In Thailand, where Buddhism embraces reincarnation, children's past life memories are often treated as ordinary and even expected. Families may celebrate when a child remembers being a beloved relative, seeing it as confirmation of family bonds extending beyond death. In contrast, in Lebanon and Turkey, where such memories challenge dominant religious teachings, families often react with confusion or concern, sometimes seeking religious intervention. What makes this phenomenon particularly compelling is its consistency across cultural boundaries. Whether in rural India or suburban America, children typically exhibit similar behavioral patterns. They speak about their other family with emotional urgency, display knowledge they couldn't have acquired normally, show unusual behaviors consistent with their described past identity, and often express confusion about their current circumstances. The content of these memories follows recognizable patterns as well. Approximately 70% of children recall the circumstances of their previous death, with violent or traumatic deaths being most frequently remembered. Many describe the period between death and rebirth, reporting experiences that align with various cultural concepts of afterlife transitions. Roughly 35% of cases involve memories of living as the opposite gender, challenging the notion that gender identity is solely determined by biology or upbringing. The frequency of these cases decreases in highly industrialized, technology-saturated environments. Researchers speculate this may reflect several factors: busier parents less attuned to children's unusual statements, cultural dismissal of such experiences as imagination, and children's attention increasingly captured by screens rather than inner awareness. Nevertheless, even in these environments, cases continue to emerge when researchers specifically inquire. Perhaps most significant is the timing of these memories. The 2 to 6 age range coincides with what developmental psychologists call theory of mind development, when children begin distinguishing between their thoughts and others. This period before concrete logical thinking solidifies may represent a unique window when consciousness remains somewhat fluid, allowing memories from beyond current physical existence to surface into awareness. In Thailand, researchers documented an average interval of just 4.5 years between the previous person's death and the child's birth, while in Burma, the average was 3.9 years. These consistent patterns across thousands of cases suggest an organized process rather than random imagination. As one researcher noted, the uniformity of these cases across vastly different cultures points to an underlying reality that transcends cultural programming. The phenomenon's cross-cultural nature challenges simplistic explanations. If these memories were purely products of suggestion or cultural expectations, they would manifest differently across cultures. Instead, the core features remain remarkably consistent worldwide, varying only in how families and communities interpret the experiences based on their cultural framework. The phenomenon of children remembering past lives finds profound explanation in spiritual traditions worldwide, with particularly illuminating insights offered by metaphysical teachers and mystics. Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, provided one of the most comprehensive frameworks for understanding these childhood memories within a larger spiritual context. His readings suggested that these aren't merely random recollections, but meaningful glimpses into the soul's ongoing journey. According to spiritual teachings that align with Cayce's work, the soul exists beyond physical reality, choosing to incarnate repeatedly to pursue spiritual growth through diverse human experiences. Each lifetime presents specific lessons, relationships, and challenges designed to develop particular aspects of consciousness. Children who remember past lives may be experiencing what mystics call thin veil consciousness, a state where the division between incarnations remains temporarily permeable. This spiritual understanding views the period between death and rebirth as crucial. During this transition, the soul reviews its experiences, integrates lessons learned, and prepares for its next physical expression. Unlike adults whose identity is firmly established in current personality structures, young children exist in a more fluid state of consciousness. Their developing brains haven't yet fully constructed the neurological architecture that solidifies separation between current awareness and deeper soul memory. Spiritual teachers explain that this veil of forgetting serves an important purpose in most cases. By entering each life without conscious memory of previous existences, we experience authentic growth without being overwhelmed by the weight of accumulated identities and relationships. However, when the veil thins, as it apparently does for these remembering children, it may serve specific spiritual purposes for both the child and those around them. The teaching suggests several reasons why some children retain these memories, while most do not. In some cases, strong emotional attachments from the previous life, particularly when death was sudden or traumatic, create energy patterns that carry forward with unusual intensity. In other instances, specific lessons may require conscious connection between lives, especially when relationships are continuing from one life to another. Cayce's work specifically addressed how these memories manifest physically. His readings suggested that the soul carries an energetic template that influences physical development in each new body. This explains the frequent correlation between children's birthmarks and wounds described in their past life accounts. The soul's experience literally shapes its physical expression, with emotional and physical traumas from previous lives sometimes imprinting on the new body as birthmarks, phobias, or physical conditions. Particularly illuminating is the spiritual perspective on why these memories typically fade around age 7. This timing coincides with what many traditions describe as the full integration of the soul into physical reality, when the higher aspects of consciousness become more completely identified with current physical expression. Some teachings describe this as the time when the silver cord connecting higher consciousness to physical being becomes fully established, cementing the focus in present reality. The spiritual significance of these memories extends beyond mere proof of reincarnation. They offer glimpses into how consciousness operates beyond physical limitations, and how relationships, lessons, and growth continue across multiple lifetimes. Each remembered life represents not just a different personality, but a facet of the soul's multidimensional nature expressing itself through time and space. For parents and caregivers encountering children with these memories, spiritual teachings recommend respectful listening without judgment. Whether one believes in reincarnation or not, these experiences represent meaningful aspects of the child's inner world. By acknowledging rather than dismissing these memories, adults help children integrate their full spiritual awareness while gradually transitioning into their present life's focus. Most profound is the understanding that these memories reveal about the nature of identity itself. From the spiritual perspective, we are not merely physical beings having occasional spiritual experiences, but spiritual beings having a physical experience. The child who remembers a past life is momentarily accessing their broader identity, the continuing consciousness that transcends physical death and connects all their incarnations in a meaningful progression of growth. This perspective invites us to reconsider fundamental questions. What aspects of ourselves continue beyond physical death? How might our current relationships and challenges reflect ongoing soul connections and lessons? And perhaps most importantly, how might we live differently if we recognized our current lifetime as one chapter in a much longer soul journey? The most compelling aspect of children's past life memories lies in the consistent patterns these cases display across cultural boundaries. Children exhibiting these memories typically manifest several recognizable signs that distinguish authentic recall from mere imagination or suggestion. Understanding these signs offers both practical guidance for parents and profound spiritual insights. Among the most common indicators are unexplainable fears directly connected to described past life deaths. Children who recall drowning often develop intense water phobias. Those who remember falling maintain inexplicable fears of heights. Those who recall dying in accidents involving specific vehicles or circumstances often exhibit terror when encountering similar situations. Unlike typical childhood fears, these phobias emerge before exposure to triggering stimuli and often diminish as the child acknowledges and processes the associated memories. Equally striking are inexplicable talents, what researchers call unusual aptitudes. Children display skills they've never been taught. Musical prodigies who can play instruments without training, linguistic abilities in languages they've never heard, or technical knowledge about obsolete technologies or historical practices. These abilities frequently correspond precisely to skills described in their past life narratives and often surpass what could reasonably be explained by genetic inheritance or environmental exposure. Perhaps most evidentially significant are xenoglossy cases, children speaking languages they've never been exposed to in their current lives. Dr. Stevenson documented numerous instances where children spontaneously spoke extinct dialects or used technical vocabulary from specialized fields connected to their described previous occupations. In one remarkable case, a child in India spoke fluent Polish and described memories of being a Polish immigrant who died in a car accident, facts later verified through historical records. The scientific investigation of these cases has advanced significantly in recent decades. Researchers apply rigorous protocols to eliminate fraud, suggestion, cryptomnesia, forgotten memories, and other conventional explanations. The strongest cases involve children describing obscure historical details, later verified through records, recognizing people and places they've never encountered in their current life, and displaying emotional responses appropriate to relationships they describe from previous incarnations. Neuroscience offers intriguing perspectives on why these memories typically manifest between ages 2 to 6. During this developmental window, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for analytical thinking and conventional identity, remains incompletely developed. Meanwhile, limbic brain structures associated with emotional memory and non-verbal recall are highly active. This neurological state may create conditions where deeper consciousness memories can surface before being filtered by mature cognitive structures. The scientific community remains divided in its assessment. Skeptics attribute these cases to coincidence, suggestion, or imaginative children incorporating fragments of overheard information. However, as Dr. Tucker notes, when you have very young children providing specific details about deceased individuals they couldn't have known about through normal means, conventional explanations become increasingly strained. From a spiritual perspective, these memories offer profound insights into consciousness itself. They suggest that identity transcends physical existence, that who we are continues beyond bodily death and carries forward meaningful patterns of experience, relationship, and growth. The very existence of these memories challenges materialist assumptions that consciousness is merely a product of brain activity, suggesting instead that the brain may function more like a receiver, tuning into a field of consciousness that exists independently of physical structure. The deeper spiritual significance emerges when we consider what these memories reveal about soul development. Patterns across thousands of cases indicate that life experiences aren't random, but form coherent developmental trajectories across multiple incarnations. Relationships recur, unresolved issues resurface, and souls appear to seek experiences that balance and complete previous learnings. This suggests a purposeful progression, what many traditions call soul evolution, unfolding through successive physical expressions. For those encountering children with these memories, spiritual wisdom suggests approaching them with openness rather than skepticism. Whether or not one accepts reincarnation as literal truth, these experiences constitute meaningful aspects of the child's inner world and deserve respectful attention. By listening without judgment, adults help children integrate these experiences while gradually establishing their focus in present reality. Perhaps the most profound teaching from this phenomenon is the perspective it offers on our own current lives. If consciousness continues and evolves across multiple incarnations, our present challenges, relationships, and circumstances take on deeper significance as opportunities for soul growth. The difficulties we face may represent not random suffering, but specifically chosen experiences designed to develop particular aspects of our spiritual nature. As we contemplate the extraordinary phenomenon of children remembering past lives, we're invited to consider a more expansive understanding of human existence, one where life and death represent not beginnings and endings, but transitions in an ongoing journey of consciousness. In this understanding, we are not merely physical beings having occasional spiritual experiences, but spiritual beings engaged in the profound work of expressing eternal consciousness through the beautiful, challenging, and ultimately temporary experience of human life. If these insights into children's past life memories have resonated with you, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel for more spiritual explorations. Your subscription helps us continue sharing this ancient wisdom in modern context. Share your own experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Remember, by engaging with this community, you're not just following content. You're participating in a collective spiritual journey that spans beyond our physical existence. Click subscribe now and join us on this path of discovery.